Yo, what's up? Welcome back to Table of Entrepreneurs. Today, I got a very special guest here today who's going to be breaking down the concept of real estate investing and how to buy and hold properties. So without further ado, Cesar, welcome to the channel, my friend. Please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
So my name's Cesar Bocanegra, recently retired gunnery sergeant from the United States Marine Corps, did 20 years and 5 months, just retired this past March of 2021, and got into real estate investing like back in 2018. Been doing it ever since.
So let me ask you a couple questions on that, right? Obviously, you talked about your career in the military and stuff like that. And I think sometimes when it comes to real estate investing, people have this misconception, right? That you have to already be a millionaire. You have to have these tons and tons of money. So how did you get into the world of real estate investing? Like, what was the start for you on that?
So it happened in early 2018. I don't know what it was. I don't know if I was just being greedy or whatever, but I just wanted more out of life. I was already blessed as it is, got a roof over my head, a wonderful wife, 3 beautiful kids, a healthy father and mother, and couldn't ask for anything more, right? Like we were able to put food on the table. Was able to get my dream car, like cars paid off and stuff like that. So could not ask for anything more. But I just, for whatever reason, something clicked inside me to where I just wanted to achieve like a higher level of financial freedom in terms of like wanting or like being able to like go to Europe for a month, like stay at a nice hotel and like have that not break the bank. Because as you get older, you start to realize that it's about your experiences in life. Life is all about experiences. And I feel that if you just keep on turning the wheels and what I'm saying, like as far as like just going through the norm as far as like your regular 9 to 5, you lose sight of your dreams. You lose sight of like the stuff that's like really important for you. Kind of sort of like that old saying. It's just like, are you working to live or do you live to work? So I just went down a rabbit hole of like, well, what can I do to increase my income? And real estate investing always kept on coming up as an example. And it started to resonate with me. And there were like many different styles of real estate investing. And what allured my wife and I was like the buy and hold aspect of it. And towards the just learned as much as I could, read a whole bunch of books and stuff like that before we actually pulled the trigger, because it was a big financial move, right, for our family. So like obviously like me being in the military, no secret what I was making. And then my wife, she works for a computer company. So we were blessed enough to have like that double income to be able to put down like the initial like 20% closing costs for like our first 2 properties and stuff. And just learned as much as I could, and then we took action, realizing that at the time, like we didn't know everything, because regardless how much information you absorb, there's no better teacher than like actually going through with it, getting like the actual experience. We just pulled the trigger and stayed with a positive mindset, because we can't predict the future. We can't, what I'm saying, like we don't have all the answers, so we just rolled with it, and just believed in the process. And as of today, we currently own 4 investment properties.
So you talked about not knowing everything, right? And I know you and I were having a conversation about this recently, but like each purchase teaches you something different, right? And then your most recent one, I think was probably something unexpected. Would you mind touching bases on that so people have a better concept of what we're talking about?
No, so yeah, of course not. So learned how to analyze deals as far as like the numbers, like what you're purchasing it for, and then what's the rent going to be, and then what are your expenses and all that stuff. And then as far as like how to calculate your ROI. So based off of my numbers, this last deal, we bought a house. It was on the market for 215. But we made an offer for 225. 225 was like the highest we were gonna go, based on my numbers, right? Like okay, like I wouldn't want to go more. So if somebody else offers higher than that, well, okay, they could have it. But we ended up winning the bid, got the property, and I was running off of my numbers typically like for insurance around $1,000, because typically my other three properties, insurance wise, what I pay annually is like either between 900 to like $1,100 a year.
Mm.
So I factor that into my calculations on a monthly basis, right? And this one I did not know that I guess the older the property is, um, higher the more expensive insurance is going to be.
Yeah.
Um, and the house was built in 1952, but the people that owned it, like did a couple of remodeling, like they remodeled like all the rooms and stuff like that. Only thing they didn't really touch was the kitchen, but like the kitchen looks fine, nothing wrong with the kitchen. That's actually something that we're planning on doing in the future, just to make rents higher.
Yeah.
So after I finally got insurance, because long and behold, I could not find an insurance company that would like cover me for this house. So then I go back to the seller's agent to ask the seller, like, hey, can you tell us what company they're going with? So that
Mm.
way, we can just get the same insurance through them. Cause I'm going through my peoples, I'm going through my broker, I'm searching myself. I can't find anybody that would insure this house. And took a couple of days, which I thought was weird. I mean, like all it is like, hey, just give me the name of the insurance company. And yeah, turns out that they had already paid off the house and they didn't have insurance on it.
Mm.
So what they did was, if a hurricane was going through or something like that, then they would scramble to get insurance on it like at the last minute.
Yeah.
So that would, just in case if the house did get damaged. Like I didn't know people did that.
Yeah.
Um, so fast forward a little bit. So finally ended up getting like finding an insurance company that would like take it, and it ended up being like $2,500 a year.
Mm.
So a little bit over like $1,500, what I was expecting. So that through, but like by then I was already committed to the deal.
Yeah.
So I was already going to be getting initially like around like 16% ROI as far as like the money that I was going to be putting into it. And then with that $2,500, it ended up being like 9.62 or 72. But it was in the high nines.
Yeah.
So still not a bad deal. It's still good. I'm gonna be still cash flowing like around like 430, 440 after expenses. So not a bad deal, not complaining, but you always want to have like a little bit of wiggle room just in case, right? Like
Yeah.
some of those surprises occur. Because if the insurance was good, if the insurance would have been lower, then obviously like my cash flow would have been higher, which would have raised my ROI. And that's one of the reasons why we're going after this house. Because even us purchasing it for 225, it was going to be like a 16% ROI, which is really good.
Yeah.
So the insurance, yeah, it lowered it a little bit, but like I said, there's ways around that. So like in the future, we can like do a kitchen remodel, charge higher rent, which is gonna like increase the ROI. There's things we can do, what I'm
Mm.
saying, to increase the rent that would increase our overall ROI. And then regardless, at the end of the day, after 30 years, like it'll be paid off. But yeah, lesson learned, did not know that. So now I'm gonna be a little more astute about it. So like I know what to expect. So that way, like
Yeah.
now if we're looking at another home that's like 1950s, 1960s, okay, lesson learned, right? You learn from your mistakes, got some experience points. And yeah, I'll be able to analyze the deal better.
So, something for you guys out there to kind of grab on. I want to point this out, right? You may be thinking like, oh, okay, well, that's only $400 a month for one property, right? Now the beauty in that is through multiplication, right? So like if you take $400 a month on average for one property, and you multiply that by 4 or 5, you're looking at 16 to over $2,000 a month residual income, right? So with that being said, right, stay in your lane. For all you guys that are watching this that are considering getting into real estate investing, right, start with where you are and then build yourself up. Right, one of the good ways to get into real estate investing is by having your own property. So let's say you have a small type home, you want to upgrade and move into something else, then you can turn around with that home that you had and then rent that out. That's not what I did. I sold a couple of years ago. I didn't know better. And then as Cesar and I have been talking over some time, I really wish I would have kept it. Now, what fears can people expect, right? Or somewhat of the process of like the real estate investing? Like, are you managing each property on your own? Do you have a property manager? Kind of like how does that work?
No, so there's like a very distinct difference as far as like being a business manager and then like being a business owner, right?
Hmm.
Um, I'm trying to position myself to where I'm more of like the business owner, because the whole, like, for us, everybody's different. For us, the whole point that my wife and I decided to like embark on this journey of just acquiring properties and trying to make this happen is so that way we can, like, buy our time back, you know,
Hmm.
in a way. So that way, like, hey, like, we're already a little bit like halfway there, because obviously, like, I'm retired, and like, we're blessed to where like I'm in the position to where like my retirement and the income from our investment properties already like replaced my paycheck of what I was making in the Marine Corps.
Hmm.
So it's just like I don't have to work. I'm not gonna be a lazy bum and not, like, try to do something. No, of course not. I'm gonna just, now that I have this freedom, this time, I'm gonna be like focusing more energy into, just like knowledge, and how can I be smarter about things? How can I acquire, deals on a faster way?
Hmm.
And then eventually, once we replace my wife's income, like, she'll have that time, and we'll be able to like accelerate, and we'll see where we're at. We're blessed to where, like, I'll be working from home. My wife already works from home, so it's not like we have to drive anywhere.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
So you talked about ROI, right? You kind of briefly covered that. What exactly is ROI, and how does somebody calculate, what would be a reasonable ROI for them?
So ROI is basically like return on investment. So essentially, it's a calculation to where, based on the amount of money, like cash, that you're bringing to the deal, um, in reference to what you're going to be getting back on a monthly basis after expenses, um, is where your ROI comes from.
Hmm.
So typically, rule of thumb, like, stock market yields about, like, I think, like, around like 6 to 7% over time, right? Because it has it's like a roller coaster, like, goes up and down, stuff like that. For me, that's just like a little crazy. I like working in the constant.
Hmm.
I like predictability, right? I like, and I like having access to that cash, like, on a monthly basis,
Hmm.
so for us, if it's not at least, we try to shoot for like 10% or more, uh is typically like our rule of thumb. And like I said, like, I analyzed this one deal and it was like 16% ROI. I was like, man, let me jump on this, because, like I said, I don't have all the answers. Like, I have a team, like, I have a lender that I work with, who, phenomenal guy, always gives me like the best rates, and works with my debt to income ratio and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
thinks outside the box as far as like how he's going to be able to help me to finance this and still get like a good interest rate on the property, right? Because typically, it's like about 1% higher interest rate that you're paying for like when you're purchasing an investment property versus a primary residence that you're going to be living in. Which is where house hacking comes into play. Like some people purchase like a duplex or a triplex, so they'll get a really good interest rate because as a primary residence, but they're renting out the two. So kind of sort of like they're having their cake and eating it too.
Right.
But yeah, for us, that's what we shoot for. And like I said, I try to leave myself some wiggle room because I can't predict everything. I'm not a construction guy, so it's just like I go off of, just basically like the inspection reports and the appraisals and stuff like that. And then just in case, like something happens and there's a setback, hey, I had that wiggle room, so it's not like a total loss,
Yeah.
So like, for example, actually I'm like looking at my spreadsheet right now. So that property that we just purchased, we were able to get a renter in there for $1,900 a month. So ROI on that is 9.92%. So had that wiggle room, like we're happy with that. Cash flows $436 a month after expenses. So that's like after the mortgage, after the month, the monthly tax, monthly insurance, HOA, property management, and then like a $50 repair cost that we do just in case if something breaks. Is like a separate account where we put on a monthly basis $50. So that way, like if a sink breaks, we need a new toilet or something maintenance wise happens, hey, it's all good. My renters were already supplying that for me. You know what I'm saying? And then it's all good. Like I could keep on moving,
Yeah. Yeah. So for you guys out there, that if you don't know what HOA is Homeowners Association. So I kind of want to touch on that since we're talking about like association fees and other expenses that come into that. Which way would you consider the people to prioritize when they're looking at buying a house? Like, should they get their inspection done first? Should they get their appraisal done first? Or like, what process do you think would be the most advantageous method to take when somebody's considering getting into real estate investing?
So for us, typically what we do is as soon as we make an offer and it gets accepted, we don't do the inspection and appraisal at the same time, because that's like money, what I'm saying? Like if you walk out of the deal, you're not getting that money back. You can get whatever money you put into the escrow account as far as like, either 1%, or if you want to put, if you put in more into the deal, yeah, you get your money back because you got that 10-day grace period window. So typically what we do is we do an inspection, pay for that, right? And then depending on the inspection, because the inspection is going to be like, hey, like the foundation's messed up, the roof is messed up, or like you got mold and rot. And then based on that information, it's like, okay, well, how much would it cost to fix this?
Yeah.
And then like I like how much money would I be putting into the deal? And then like, hey, are my numbers still going to be good?
Yeah.
And then if they are, okay, great, we can keep on moving forward. And at that point in time, we order the appraisal afterwards.
Gotcha.
But as long as the appraisal gets done before you close, you're good. So you got some wiggle room, you got some time, because typically I think like it's like roughly like 30 days around approximately, like as far as like going through the underwriting process and stuff like that. So
okay. So what's usually the cost of an inspection? Like, is that like expensive, or is that something that makes sense for the bigger picture?
It's something that so the properties that we buy are out of state. So we live in North Carolina. All of our investment properties are in Florida. So we're not there. And like I said, like if I walk into the house, like if it's not blatantly obvious, like I don't know, I wouldn't know what to look for.
Right.
So for us, it's that peace of mind. It's just like that safety net, what I'm saying? Like those experts, like, hey, they write the report, and then now you can like renegotiate with that information. It typically costs like around like $360. Typically that's what we pay every time we get an inspection done. We typically go through the same company in Florida. So we already have like repeat business established with them, so they give us like a discount and stuff like that. but yeah, so like typically we pay $360, and then now with that information, like if X, Y, and Z is messed up, or if X, Y, and Z is kind of old, then you can go with that information and like renegotiate a lower price.
Yeah.
You could bring that to the table. It's just like, hey, your water heater's about to, go out. That's gonna be like let's say $1,000. Like, can you take off $500 off the asking price? Since I'm gonna be buying it off of you, blah blah blah. There's many things you can renegotiate at that point. So
Yeah.
I would highly encourage, as an investor, is just like taking that risk, because yeah, if you walk out of a deal, you're out $360, but at least like versus like not paying that, you know what I mean? Like you might have never known, and then
Right.
like that's even like more dangerous. It would have been like way more expensive down the line. Kind of sort of similar to like a DUI. When people get a DUI, it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna drink, and then it's just like they could have just gotten a taxi, which would have been like $30, gotten a hotel room, which would have been like like let's say 60-70 bucks, versus if they get pulled over and they get a DUI, and now that's like basically a $10,000 fine after it's all said and done. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I look at
Risk
it like
versus
that.
reward.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I know we talked a little bit about something called a HELOC, right? What exactly is a HELOC, and how can one use it effectively?
So a HELOC it stands for home equity line of credit. So essentially, our primary resident, so like in the military, we move around a lot, but we bought this house in North Carolina back in 2006. And then after we came back we lived in it for 4 years, from 2006 through 2010. And then after that, we went to like Tampa, Florida. I was doing recruiting down there. And then after that, we went to like Okinawa for 3 years. And then in 2016, I got orders back to Cherry Point. So we moved back into our house here in North Carolina. So
Mm.
we've been back here since 2016. So around like 2017, 2018, since 10 years had passed, we had already, like had some equity in the house, right? Just based off the, like all those years that we've been like, paying down the mortgage, paying down the principal, X, Y, and Z. So we had some access to equity. And what we did was, well, so typically what they say is your primary residence is normally like a liability, because it doesn't, make you any money, because you're spending on insurance, you're spending on electricity, X, Y, and Z. Like it costs you something to have, versus an investment property. That's an asset, because it's generating you cash flow every month. It's making you money, right? So then there are ways of how you can transform your primary residence, which is a liability. You can transform that into an asset by tapping into the equity in your house. So what we ended up doing was we went to our bank, and I was just like, hey, I would like to open up a home equity line of credit, because the home equity line of credit is tied to the equity in your house. So what the bank does is, yeah, they'll give you a line of credit, and then if you don't pay them for whatever reason, then it's like, okay, well, they take your house.
Okay.
That's their backup, right? So we had like a little bit over $100,000 of equity in the house, and the bank will never let you tap into 100% of that. Normally, it's like about like 80% or so. And I was like, well, what's the max that I can get? And they're like, well, we can't tell you that. You have to give us a number, sir. And I'm like, okay. So I just threw out a numbers. I was like, okay, can I get a HELOC for 50 grand? And they were like, yep, we can give you one for 50 grand. Okay, great. So then what we started implementing was like utilizing the equity that's in the house, in the primary residence, to attack the principal, right? Because a home loan is amortized. So if we already made our mortgage payment that same month, whatever extra payments you make go straight towards the principal.
Mm.
You know what I mean? You're not paying anything towards interest for that month. So utilizing the HELOC strategy, what we did was, okay, we had 50 grand to play with. So we transferred it. We transferred $40,000 because I like to have a little bit of wiggle room. So I left 10,000 in there just in case. So I grabbed 40,000 from the home equity line of credit, transferred it to my checking account. And because we had the HELOC and our checking account with the same bank, it's like instant, same second process. So like I go online, I move it, cool. It's instant liquidable funds. So I had $40,000 in my checking account. Cool. So then what I did was I grabbed 40,000 and I dumped it straight into my mortgage. And so now instead of me owing like $110,000 I was on the principal for that month, I owed $40,000 less. So then now long term, I was going to be, we were going to be paying way less in interest. Now, don't get me wrong, a home equity line of credit, you pay daily interest on it, right? But it's simple interest because it's not amortized. So, it's like, yeah, I'm going to pay like a couple of dollars here on interest on my home equity line of credit, but I just saved like tens of thousands of dollars in interest that I would have paid the bank back over time. You know what I mean? Which is, one of those popular strategies that like when you hear about people paying off their 30-year mortgage in like 10 years or less, or under 15 years or so,
Yeah.
So that's how we were able to do it. And then once we were able to pay off the house free and clear, so then what we did was I went back to the bank. I was like, hey, I want to tap into more. I want, tap into like more of the equity in the house. So they appraised the house, and I was able to tap into $203,000, which was like 89.7%. Because if you tap into like 90%, the APR would have gone from like 4.25 to like 4.75. So if it was like 90% or more, so I was just like being silly with it and just like playing around with the numbers, like what would be 89.7 or 89.8, and then we got like 203,000. I was like, sweet, I'll take 203,000 at 4.25, like it's all good.
Yeah.
So then now, cool, we have instant liquidable funds. So it's like we use the house, right, like the equity, and now that became more or less like a what do they call those lenders, like hard money lenders? So we were able to do that with ourselves.
Gotcha.
So cool. Gotcha. What did we do? All right, let's buy a house, and typically like 20% down plus closing costs. Typically, we end up paying like around between $40,000 to $55,000, right? That we bring at closing. So that's like closing costs and 20% down on the properties. So where did we get that money from? Because you got to pay that in cash. You got to wire the money. So we just transferred it from our HELOC. Grab that money, brought it to our checking account, and then wired the money. Cool. Now we got an asset. So then, okay, cool. I got a house. It's cash flowing me. So then, with my income plus now the income from the rental property is going back to the HELOC. We're paying it down. So then that way we can, like keep the balance low so we can like continually use it. So now it's just like you have this synergy, like you're borrowing from your HELOC, you're buying an asset, and then you're using, and then the cash flow that you get from those assets are paying back your HELOC. So it's like a cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, that's a genius concept, man. I remember when you first told me about it at first, I was like, man, that makes no sense. You borrow against yourself to pay yourself back to borrow against yourself. No, but if you guys don't understand what simple interest is and amortized interest is, please take the time to go do some research on that, because he's absolutely right. Like that is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. That's the difference, right? And as we say, once you know better, you do better. So we talk about how you have your Excel sheet, right? So organization in this business is highly important to be able to keep up with the things that you have. Now, before we run out of time today, what I'd like to do is like how can people contact you if they have any further questions, or maybe want to do business with you, or, I don't know, not saying you do this or you don't do this, but if somebody wants to take a class from the Bocanegras, how can they reach you?
No, we're happy to, like, share this information of stuff that my wife and I have learned through just reading and YouTube University and just books and stuff, and then talking to other successful people. So by all means, like, yeah, my email address is, people can contact me via email at cesar.e.bocanegra@gmail.com. And then I'm sure you could probably just put that in the description below or something like that. And yeah, just feel free to reach out if you're looking into, getting into real estate investing. We'd be more than happy to, like, show you the stuff that we did and that worked for us. And yeah, it's all good, man. Happy to help.
Yeah, so I've known him for over 10 years now. Great dude to be around. And I mean, throughout these past couple of years, I mean, he's been educating me. Like I always tell you guys, right? Look at your circle of influence, right? You can tell who you are about the people that you keep around you, right? If you see yourself going somewhere or want something from life, make sure you surround yourself around people that are equal to you or in a position that where you want to get to. Hey, I appreciate you guys for stopping by here at Table of Entrepreneurs. And as always, it's much appreciated. I'll see you again in the next video.
Thank you, everyone.